There is one thing we haven't seen yet from Trey Lance and Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance, right? Game planning.
Yeah. Which we saw last year when they played the 2 games, and we saw in regular season games, because Kyle Shanahan, what's the Niners' best asset? I was thinking about this tonight. It probably truly is Nick Bosa, if he is as good as we all think he's going to be, because that means he's might be the best pass rusher in the league, or right there with Myles Garrett. And that means you're worth non-quarterback making $120 million guaranteed, shows you how good you are. So you could argue, like, if you just had a draft, would Nick Bosa go ahead of Kyle Shanahan? Like, because even Trent, like, God love him, he is older.
I don't think so.
You think Kyle Shanahan would go?
I mean, it depends, right? If you told me you can get Shanahan and Mike and a LaFleur, or you can get Shanahan, Bosa, which coach are you getting with? Are you getting Bosa and McCarthy? Well, in some snake draft, like, that's not doing you any good. I'm serious, right?
Yeah, you're right. Because you would probably, like, let's just say, for example, if you knew Andy Reid had 8 more healthy seasons as a head coach, assuming Belichick's kind of done, would he be you wouldn't take a player over Andy Reid, or would you take Mahomes or Josh Allen over Andy Reid?
Yeah, you might take a superstar quarterback.
Non-quarterback.
If John Lynch was,
would you take Andy Reid over every player?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, well, without question.
Yeah. Okay, so then Kyle Shanahan would go, like, if he's your best asset, and he obviously is the offensive play caller too, that's the thing in the preseason game. Now, I've never been around Kyle in, like, the behind-the-scenes settings, getting ready for a preseason game. Andy scripts his preseason plays. Not like today for Len Dawson, they got in, like, the huddle that he used to get in. Like, I'm not talking something like, I'm talking like they have 7, 8 plays or 15 plays that he scripts for the preseason. And then he tells, like, Al or whoever's calling his game, like Nance, like, yeah, we're just out here screwing around, seeing what works, guys. And it's like, bang, bang, boom. It's like, come on, Andy. But my point is, it's clear when you watch them, like, these guys are not messing around. But after the first drive, they don't care. And then they just start calling random plays. The one thing with Kyle tonight, I would be shocked if he didn't script some plays. The problem is, even if you had the first 15 scripted, which I'm sure they did, right? Because they had the week off, like, in terms of Trey didn't play in the game, so they could have done it over the weekend, start, like, kind of developing. And they played this team last year where Lovey was the defensive coordinator. So, like, they already had some stuff traded specifically. And it was clearly a different game plan than earlier in the season.
And I would add to it, John, and he only wanted a few series for Trey. So he wanted to do specific things. I think he would probably throw the ball with Trey more tonight than he will like week 1 against the Bears' first drive.
And for example, tonight, once the offensive line couldn't block me or you, it does throw everything out of kilter, right?
Yeah.
It was clear, like, they weren't really moving the ball. So you're like, it's not like he's just going to give Trey a quarter. He's going to go. But then it got to the point, like, well, he could get injured. So we got to, like, I think his plan was to score some points. And then that last drive before Trey came out, when it felt like could get really hurt because the offensive tackle couldn't touch the defensive end. And this isn't J.J. Watt in his prime. These are kind of random. I don't think the Texans on paper are viewed as, like, the group who most people think have some elite defensive line. So it kind of threw everything off. I wonder if Kyle thinks, like, did we really gain that much tonight? It's more like the offensive lineman, and we know maybe Jalen Moore, it wasn't good. And it really throws off your rhythm. But Kyle's proven a couple years ago, because I was thinking Tyron Smith today, right? Did you see the injury? It's like his knee with the hamstring ripping off the. It just sounds.
I think it's the same as the Jets. Mekhi Becton. Same injury.
So when that happens right now, there is no, like, well, we can patch mail this till he's back. Like when Joe Staley broke his leg, it's like, we think he'll miss 5 games. We got a bye week.
Trent Williams missing the Rams game last year.
Trent Williams, one game to me, you got to be able to make handle. But can you handle a month or whatever? Like the Cowboys, they got to handle the season. The 49ers you saw today, like, could this guy start a month? But then you also go back to, well, they've done this before with AAF guys, and he just schemed around it. But the key on that with Kyle is, like, they got to be running the ball well. Because the one thing that I don't care who you are, that there's no analytics, there's no scheme, there's nothing that can circumvent. If your left tackle cannot pass block, or your right tackle, and you get in positions where you have to throw a lot in a given game, you're in trouble, right? Whether you're playing just the Texans or the Rams or whoever, right? It doesn't – you could be playing one of the worst teams in the NFL. If your offensive line is having a terrible day at the office, and you're behind in the game, I would say whether Kyle Shanahan and Andy Reid are coaching or Freddie Kitchens is coaching, you can lose. So their key, and I think he would tell you, well, when we, kind of circumvented the injuries in 19, we were so good running the ball.
Yeah.
And that to me is just, I'm telling you, I think Kyle Shanahan is going to try to play Patriot 2021 on steroids with his young quarterback. And the difference is, I think they were probably more confident. Like Mac didn't have the deep ball prowess that Trey's clearly going to have. Like they're going to rip deep
or
balls.
the quarterback run.
Or the quarterback run. But what he would have is probably much more consistent on just like you knew if you ran an out route, he's going to hit that probably 80% of the time, right?
Yeah.
And that his accuracy on the shorter stuff, and not in a million years would I have wanted Mac over Trey, but there are give and takes, and this is where the game planning specifically, like I think Kyle kind of likes being able to run some go routes, right? He's done it every game.
I think he does. Even the throw to Juszczyk. Wait, was it the throw to Juszczyk? Was that the throw to on the move to the sideline, or was there a throw after that?
He did a couple.
That throw was a longer throw for the 49ers offense, right? A rollout throw to the sideline to Juszczyk. That was a longer throw by like Niners offense standards over the last several years with Garoppolo.
Agreed.
And I also think the reason that he was probably a little bummed that he couldn't keep Trey Lance in longer, which is what he said. He just realized he just couldn't keep him in any longer. One thing that Kyle Shanahan does not have yet is the experience of, and remember last year when he was like, he admitted that it was the rhythm was difficult for him when he brought Trey Lance into games. Kyle does not have week after week after week. I'm going to run a bunch of plays with Trey Lance week 1. I'm going to run a bunch of plays with him week 2. Someone's going to try and adjust to him week 3. And I'm going to do some shit off of that week 4. And then week 5 and week 6 and week 7. I mean, last year, Debo said it in his interview on the Amazon pregame where he was like, what did they start last year? 1-3? Is that what it was?
Who, the Niners? No, they won the first 2 games because they played the Eagles and the Lions.
Were they 2-3?
Yeah, they were 3-5 at one
3 and 5. Whatever number he said. But they started 3-5 last year. I mean, it's a reminder that it's a long season. There are adjustments to adjustments, and on and on and on and on and on.
It does feel like their season was a little extra long for a playoff team.
It did feel extra long. Yeah, it did feel extra long. But I just think
I would argue that was about as bad as you can get and make the playoffs. Literally, I mean, they went to the last game. I mean,
it did really feel that way. Yeah, and then even the last game, it was like Trent's not going to play, and you're on the road against the Rams. Then you're down. Like that's the other thing.
We've all been watching football.
That game was over. They weren't going to win it.
We've all been watching football for a long time. That's one for a team that ends up in the Final Four. That's one of the more batshit crazy seasons ever. Right?
It really is. Yep, it really is. And I think
Thursday night, Jimmy, and then John Lynch liked the tweet.
Think of it like, and then John Lynch liked the tweet from where was he? Like with his family or no church?
Church. Yeah, church. It was Christmas.
It's like if you've got a video game, let's say Trey Lance is a video game, and there are things that you can only unlock when you get to like level 10, 11, 12, weapons that you can only unlock when you're in level 12. And Kyle hasn't gotten to play past level 2 or 3 with Trey Lance yet. So I think he's going to do those things really well, the early stuff. But I think there's probably other stuff that he hasn't even gotten to really get to yet, because he hasn't had to deal with the adjustments, the things that happen over careers. And Trey Lance plays a lot and gets better and all of that stuff. So, look, Trey Lance is in a better situation than any of the rookie quarterbacks that came in, any of the second-year quarterbacks that came in the league last year. He's in a better situation than any of the rookie quarterbacks that came into the league this year. He's in about as good as a situation as a third overall rookie quarterback pick can be. And a big part of that is because of his coach.
For sure. I mean, the guy that, had the most success given his team last year, honestly, it didn't look as good as I think, somehow he ended up in the Pro Bowl and he's doing the gritty as Mac. But it feels like fast forward a year. Wouldn't you say that most people think that Mac Jones, and honestly, it might not even be totally his fault. That Patriot thing could be a disaster.
He's in a bad situation, isn't he?
I've said over and over, listen, Mac Jones is represented by Condon and his group, the group that's from Drew Brees, the Mannings to Stafford, the big boys. Trey Lance, I think, is part of the same deal. You think if Mac Jones, who is pretty respectable, right? I mean, high level guy, feels like a solid player. If that thing gets ugly, and this doesn't happen with the Patriots, you think they're just going to let him go down with the ship, or you think they're going to start bad mouthing publicly? The Joe Judge, Patricia, like Bill doing this to him is insane. That type of stuff. Like, keep an eye on that. And Trey's lucky that he gets to go to a place that, I mean, is about as stable as you can be. I mean, both guys are on like 15-year contracts for people that have made the playoffs twice, two times in 5 years, and making combined like $25 million, the two of them.
I mean, look how long they've stuck with Garoppolo. That's stable.
Yeah, shit, he's still around.